So then, to clarify, an A positive is something that provides you with additional information specifically about the subject of your sentence. So it is also a dependent clause. This is where some of our confusion comes in, because you have to determine, is it just a dependent clause or is it specifically an A positive, which is another type of dependent clause. So if I were to say, Tom, the smartest student in my first period class, is going to give his presentation today. The smartest student in my first period class is a dependent clause, but in this case, it is also an A positive because it is specifically giving me more information about our subject, which is Tom. So when you are going to take your CFA on your Wise Wednesday, the test we take on the Wise Wednesdays, you want to give the most appropriate response. So while it might also be a dependent clause, specifically this one is an A positive. Number 7, after introductory phrases and clauses. An introductory phrase or clause is essentially a dependent clause that comes at the beginning of the sentence instead of at the end. That's the major difference. So when you happen to have that at the beginning of the sentence, then you still want to be able to determine, is that something I could take out and leave off and still have a complete sentence? If it is, then it's something that you would set off with commas. Number 8, after interjections. Of course, this requires us first and foremost to know what an interjection is. An interjection is like, wow, oh no, whoops, uh-oh. So when you have one of those words, then it becomes a matter of determining the severity of the use of the word. If you're saying, uh-oh, I think I left the lights on, that would be a comma usage. Uh-oh, comma, I think I left the lights on. Now, if you were to say, oh no, a house is on fire, then your oh no would have an exclamation point instead of a comma. So the comma applies when your interjection is something mild, but if your interjection is something significant, then you would use an exclamation point. So keep that rule in mind. Number 9, set off direct address. Now, again, this requires you to know what direct address is. And I felt like most people did know this one last year. Direct address is when you are directly speaking to the subject of your sentence. So if I were to say, Elizabeth, I need you to look at chapter 35, that would start with a comma. Elizabeth, comma, I need you to look at chapter 35 because I am directly addressing the subject of my sentence. Number 10, after titles. I don't mean book titles or movie titles or song titles. In this case, when we talk about titles, we mean the title that someone possesses for their profession. So if someone were to be called, I'll use my own name for an example, Aaron Beaver's PhD, that title would come with a comma after it. Now, we use this one for the same reason, let me click through, that we use number 14, after IE and EG. These are abbreviations that basically stand for Latin phrases that mean, for example, or in the case of. When we use these abbreviations, we need to use a comma after them. It's mostly because they are abbreviations in the same way that titles are abbreviations. Because abbreviations end with a period, you frequently need to include a comma after them in order to denote that that period does not actually end the sentence, which is what periods are most commonly known for doing. Number 11 is super easy. We have this one down pat. Separates day, month, and year. Number 12 is also really easy. Numbers larger than 999. We don't always think of that one as being an English rule because that has more to do with numbers than it does to do with writing, but it is one of the comma usages.